Take me home, country roads, to the place I belong, where Virginia, Mountain, take me home, the country roads. All right, we're back with another 2019 college football preview and prediction video. Done a whole series of these. If I can remember, I'll put a playlist up here somewhere. I probably won't remember, but I'll try. Of all the teams that we've done so far, I don't know, 15 or 16. I'm trying to jump around from conference to conference, spread it out a little bit. We've done Notre Dame, done teams from several teams from all the Power 5 conferences. Did a group of 5 team, I think even. Didn't we do Memphis? I think so. Going to jump back into the Big 12 today with a preview and prediction of the West Virginia Mountaineers. Hey, good morning, it's Uncle Lou here. Yeah, that's right, it's me, Uncle Lou, and I'm live for you on LouTube today, so thanks for watching. I really appreciate it also, and in addition to that as well, subscribe to this channel if you're not already. I post college football videos almost every single day of the year, and sometimes they're even watchable. Give this video a thumbs up. Doesn't cost you anything or take you any time at all, but it's a huge benefit to me if you're a West Virginia fan. Excited for the start of the 2019 season. Neil Brown era getting underway this year. Give this video a thumbs up. All right, shout out to Waikiki over on the Uncle Lou Patreon page. He suggested this West Virginia preview. I think it was him that suggested West Virginia last year, too. So Waikiki, and yeah, I know I'm saying it wrong, but I've been saying it that way for so long. Why quit now? I really appreciate your support over on the Patreon page, sir. It really means a lot to me. I can't thank you guys enough over on the Patreon page who have chosen to support the channel directly by joining up over there. It really means a lot. Seriously. If you want to join on the Patreon page, just click the link in the description of this video that says support the channel. It'll take you over there and you can get yourself signed up. Let's get on with this preview for the Mountaineers. Okay, maybe it's just me. I thought West Virginia had a pretty good year last year. I mean, it kind of went, I think, the way a lot of people thought it would go. I know some West Virginia fans had a little bit of higher hopes and expectations than what actually ended up happening. But that's okay. A lot of fan bases tend to, overestimate what may actually happen. But I still think the season was pretty well. But it just seemed like not a lot of people felt that way, especially West Virginia fans. What happened? Well, you went 8-3 in the regular season. Why 8-3? You had a game canceled due to weather against NC State, and you weren't able to make it up. So you only had 11 regular season games. So you're 8-3 in the regular season, 8-4 after a loss in the bowl game. He had losses during the season at Oklahoma State. I think you were probably a better team than Oklahoma State last year, but it's on the road. They're not a terrible team. They're one of these typical Big 12 teams with a high-flying offense every year, right? So, I don't necessarily consider that a bad loss. You lost at home to OU. Almost every team in America would lose to OU. There's really no shame, and I know you wanted to beat them. It was a great game, too, one of these track meet games, 130-something points, I think, scored in that game. But, they did get you at the end. And then you lost on the road at Iowa State. And I know what a lot of you are thinking, well, that's a terrible loss. How do you lose to Iowa State? Maybe you didn't hear me. It was at Iowa State. You can't win there. No one's won there. In fact, you got to go all the way back to the VHS days to even find a home loss for Iowa State. It's just impossible to win there. At least that's what I have heard. Big wins, Texas, obviously, right? You beat Texas. They, of course, ended up being a pretty good team, making the Big 12 title game, playing and winning in the Sugar Bowl. You beat them. That's probably definitely your biggest win of the season. Beat Tennessee in a non-con matchup to open up the season. And Tennessee last year, sort of like West Virginia this year in 2019, in my opinion. Wholesale changes. We'll get into that here in a second. Like I mentioned before, you capped your season off with a disappointing loss to ACC team in the Camping World Bowl, Syracuse. But Syracuse was a pretty good team last year, so let's give them some credit. Dino Babers, I think one of the most underrated coaches in America, although he's starting to get a lot more attention now. And if for some reason they find a way to beat Clemson this year, then everybody in America will know who Dino Babers is. But he's played Clemson real close the last 2 years, beating them once, and a 10-win season last year for Syracuse. All right, Dana Holgorsen out. Now, this sort of gets to my point at the beginning about, was West Virginia's season good or not? Was it good or bad? I think it was good. They beat a team in Texas that ended up being a really good team. They lost to OU. Most people kind of saw that coming, to be honest. And the Iowa State thing, all jokes aside, that's a game you probably got to start winning if you want to get taken seriously in the Big 12, right? You would like to have won that game. You could have been probably 9-2. Instead of 8-3, in which case you probably would have been playing in the Big 12 title game instead of Texas. But it didn't work out that way. Holgorsen decides to leave. Technically not fired, just decides his time is up there. Some people, I thought Holgorsen did pretty good at West Virginia. I know the defense was terrible, but I thought Holgorsen did an okay job. A lot of the West Virginia fans I talk to on a regular basis and hear from here on the channel are glad he's gone. We'll see if it works out. You bring Neil Brown in. I like Neil Brown. What the guy did at Troy was nothing short of a miracle. 3 10-win seasons, if I can say that right. 3 straight 10-win seasons he had at Troy. And, of course, everyone remembers the big win over LSU that they had. So, a hot name in the coaching world. He comes into a bad situation, though, at West Virginia, in my opinion. Last year was sort of the year that West Virginia had been pointing to for a couple of years. Will Grier, some NFL wide receivers, some parts and pieces you thought you might have had on defense. And again, 8-3, not terrible. You could have been 9-3 if that NC State game was played. That would have been a close game, I think. 8-3, 8-4 to bowl loss. Holgorsen leaves, takes another job at Houston. Just really, really strange. You don't see very many coaches voluntarily leaving a Power 5 school to take a job at a Group of 5 school. But in any case, that's what Holgorsen did. He's gone. Neil Brown in. Everyone excited. This happens every time you get a new coach. This was kind of a weird stat I saw when I was looking up information for this video. 3rd highest attendance ever at the West Virginia spring game this year. Guess the number. 18,000. Now, down here in SEC country, we look at a number like 18,000 and we wonder, well, was it snowing? Was it, was there a tornado? Down here we have, spring games, a lot more attendance than that. But and I know spring games don't mean anything, but attendance at a spring game, it really, I think, is a sort of a barometer of fan excitement. So the fans are excited to have Neil Brown there. That's a positive. Let's talk about the offense and the defense and what it might look like this year. And then we'll talk about the schedule, right? Quarterback, Will Grier, gone off to the NFL. One of the best quarterbacks you've had in a while. In come 2 transfers, one from Oklahoma, Austin Kendall. Now, here's a guy who sat behind 2 Heisman-winning quarterbacks, right? Baker Mayfield sat behind him. Then Kyler Murray comes in. He sits behind Kyler Murray. What does Oklahoma do? They bring in Jalen Hurts. This guy's a little, I'm out of here. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Point is, you bring him in from Oklahoma. But he didn't do what he needed to do in the spring, at least not to the point where the coaches were comfortable naming him the starter, right? Any articles you read, whatever, the coaches say this is an open competition. He didn't, no one won the starting job in spring, 50-50 type situation. So who else could it be? Well, another transfer, this one you brought in from Miami, Jack Allison. It's going to be one of these 2 guys. I would be surprised if it's not Austin Kendall. If Austin Kendall doesn't end up being the starter, you may have to label him a bust at this point. We'll see. But it's going to be one of those 2 guys, and this may be the type of thing where you don't know who the starter is going to be until you see the starter run out on the field with the offense first possession week 1. I don't know. A lot of times, especially lately, these coaches keep this stuff. They act like it's a government secret to name the starting quarterback. So we'll see. Running back. Now, I think running back is probably the strong suit of your offense. I don't think you have any one running back that's you don't have any Heisman running backs, or you probably don't even have any running backs that are going to be first team all Big 12. But you've got 3 or 4 really good running backs, right? Let's run through them. You got a couple of seniors here. Kennedy McCoy, I believe it is. McKay or McCoy. I think it's McCoy. And then you got Martell Pettaway. A couple of sophomores, Ledick Brown, Alex Sinkfield. All 4 of these guys, in my opinion, from what I was reading today, are more than capable running backs. And not only that, you've got some running backs that fit different molds. You've got some power backs for short yardage situations and runs up the middle. You've got some undersized backs that are good on third downs. You can line them up in the slot, get them the ball in space, that kind of thing. You've got some jitterbug backs. So you've got a different combination of backs here that you can play, and that's positive. That's what you look for. You want, you want your big bruiser backs, goal line, short yardage situations, runs up the middle. Then it's nice to have the faster, quicker guys that you can get the ball on the swing routes, even line them up in slot, things like that. And you've got running backs that fit each of those molds. Offensive line, biggest concern. I know we don't know who the starting quarterback is going to be, but I think the offensive line is actually a bigger concern when I look at West Virginia's offense than the quarterback situation is. It's going to be a patchwork offensive line. You're moving guys around. You got a couple of guys back from last year. But they're playing different positions, and then this guy played second string right guard, and now he's starting center. Just different things like that. You're moving a bunch of pieces around, and this could be the situation where you see the offensive line move around in terms of players maybe trying them at different positions, even a couple of weeks into the season until you find sort of a cohesive unit there along the offensive line. But I wouldn't consider that a strength at this point. If you're looking for a positive outlook to put on the offensive line, question mark is really about the most positive thing you can say. We don't know. We'll see. Wide receiver, Bama transfer. Again, with the transfers, we'll see the same thing when we get to the defense. But Bama transfer wide receiver is this TJ Simmons. Probably the leader of your offense, really. This guy's pretty good. He'll be your best wide receiver, I think. Redshirt sophomore Sam James. Now, this guy could be legit. Didn't play a lot last year. Behind a couple of NFL wide receivers who are gone now. But this guy has potential to be a game breaker. We'll see if you have a quarterback capable of taking advantage of that this year. But you're okay at the wide receiver position with those two guys. Of course, you got to find a couple more to fill in, but you're okay there at the wide receiver position. Defense, a complete disaster. There's no sugarcoating it. That's my honest opinion. I got no hate for West Virginia here. In fact, I talk about West Virginia a lot. I've got some in-laws that are from there. And West Virginia fan, so I'd love nothing than for West Virginia to go 12-0 unless for some reason they play Georgia or whatever. But the defense is just it's just not going to be good. You're switching from the 3-3-5 that Dana Holgorsen ran to more of a 4-2. It's really a 4-3. He has like an extra safety / hybrid linebacker that'll play down in the box, but he calls it a 4-2, but it's really a 4-3. But your two starting safeties transferred out like in May. Just really strange and weird. Injuries, transfers along the defensive line, so you're bringing transfers in from other places. You do have those two brothers that I think play on the defensive line that are okay, but I just don't see an elite player on West Virginia's defense at any level. Not up front, not at the linebacker position, and not in the secondary. That doesn't mean one can't emerge in 2019, but in terms of what you got coming back, known commodity type of thing, it's a sketchy looking situation in my opinion on the defense, and it's not good to be in the Big 12 with this many question marks on defense. So you add all this stuff up, new coaching staff, you don't know who your quarterback's going to be, makeshift offensive line, question marks on all three levels of your defense, could be in for a much rougher season than what some of you think was a rough season last year at 8-3. But anyway, let's put the schedule up on the screen. You guys know how we do this. We'll go through it game by game. I'll give you my thoughts on each of these games, and then I'll pick a winner and a loser for every single one, and we'll try to figure out what West Virginia's final regular season record might be, right? Start off at home against James Madison. This is a must-win game, and I know what you're thinking. It's James Madison. It seems like once a year, one of these nobody teams that you never heard of from a lower classification beats somebody, and people are pointing and laughing. I'm not saying it'll be you, but it might be you. I'm going to give you a win here. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Week 2, you got to go on the road, take on an SEC opponent, Missouri. I'm giving you a loss there. I haven't done a Missouri preview yet, at least not on video, but I've spent a lot of time talking about them this offseason. I think Missouri is going to be one of the best teams in America, or at least look that way the first half of the season. Mizzou could easily start the season 5-6, possibly even 7-0. Kelly Bryant at quarterback. Are they an elite team? No, it'll be a lot of smoke and mirrors and scheduling quirks if they start off 6 and 7-0. But I do think they're better than you. I'll take Kelly Bryant over whatever unknown you choose to start at quarterback. And say what you want about Missouri's defense, it's not as bad as West Virginia's. And I like what Missouri has offensively especially compared with West Virginia's defense. I got to give the SEC team the win there. That puts you at 1-1. Week 3, I think, is a huge game. It's not a conference game. It's NC State. I think you're going to be hovering around the 6-win mark this year, and this NC State game is one of these games that I think you're going to look back on and go, thank God we barely won that game and made a bowl, or we lost that NC State game. If we could have beat them, we would have made a bowl. I think they're going to beat you. I don't think NC State is a great team. You get them at home. I'm just giving NC State the win here really is more of a statement on West Virginia in my mind than it is NC State. I do think this is a coin flip game that could go either way. If West Virginia is a little bit better than I think they will be, I think they could potentially win this game at home against NC State, and I really think you need to find a way to win it. But this isn't a find a way video. This isn't a best case, worst case video. This is a prediction video, and I'm going to give you your second straight loss. You're sitting at 1-2. Now, the good news is you start your Big 12 play the following week on the road at Kansas, fighting Les Miles. They would love nothing more than to get a win for Les Miles in this game. It's not going to happen. I like Les Miles. He's an upgrade over what Kansas has had at head coach. They just don't have any talent there, and there's no such thing as a home field advantage at Kansas outside of the fact that the fans may be a little bit more excited that the grass eater Les Miles is roaming the sideline. I'm giving you a win on the road to open up your Big 12 schedule against Kansas. Then you get your first bye week. You get 2 bye weeks this year. You come out of your bye week, you play Texas. I got to give Texas the win there. I don't think Texas is quote-unquote back like a lot of the fans think they are and like Sam Ehlinger thinks they are in terms of competing for a national title this year. But I do think Texas is much better than West Virginia and can compete to win the Big 12. I know you get them at home. Matters not. You could play them in a Big Lots parking lot. I really don't think it would matter. Texas gets the win there. Then you get Iowa State. Lucky for you, you get them at home. If you had to play them there, you already know. Impossible to win. You found that out last year, didn't you? Yeah, you did. But you get them at home this year. I'm going to give you a win. Now listen, this is a win against a better team than you. Iowa State is a better team in 2019 than West Virginia is. And I think Iowa State is capable of knocking off one of the big boys in the Big 12 this year if things go right. That's what you see a lot of times with teams that are where an Iowa State is. They're not good enough and deep enough to consistently play at the level they need to win 10, 11, 12 games a year and compete for a conference championship or a playoff berth. But they are good enough to give good teams a scare and occasionally beat one. I'm going to give you the win here in what will likely be one of your biggest wins of the season. I give you a win at home over Iowa State. You got to turn around and go on the road to OU. That's a loss. I mean, it'll be, most people have OU going 11-1, 12-0. If they do get a loss, it won't be at home to you. I have you losing that game to the Sooners. Then you have your second and final bye week of the year before a return, another road trip at Baylor. Baylor is another team I think that is going to surprise some people this year who haven't been paying that close of attention. They've been in the toilet since the Art Briles thing and all the cover-ups of sexual assaults and all that trash that was going on down there. But they've quietly put a pretty good team together. I think they're going to surprise some people this year. You're going to be one of the people they surprise. I've got you losing on the road at Baylor. Then you come back home for a game against Texas Tech, which might be the worst or second worst team in the Big 12. I think you get a win against the Red Raiders. However bad your defense is, Texas Tech is probably a little bit worse. I give you a win against them. On the road at Kansas State, I give you a win there. Now, this is, again, a team that typically plays out over its skis. They usually play better than what their roster looks like it will. That's one of the reasons I almost said Skeletor. Bill Snyder was able to keep his job there for 80 years, but he's gone. They've got a whole new coaching staff in there too. I know you have to play him on the road there, but again, this is one of those games where I don't think anybody would be surprised if you lost this game, but I'm giving you the win. So if you're upset about me having you losing to NC State or Baylor or whatever, deal with it. I've got you beating Kansas State on the road. Now, your last 2 games of the year, it could be a situation where you got to go 1-1 or even 2-0 to make a bowl game here, depending on what happens earlier in the season, especially with that NC State game if that goes bad for you. But Oklahoma State at home and TCU on the road, I think you lose both of those games. I think Oklahoma State's going to be maybe the third best team, possibly even the second best team if they surprise some people in the Big 12 this year. And the same thing can be said for TCU. Everyone talks about Oklahoma and Texas, but I think right after that, you've got Oklahoma State and TCU. And then you maybe even can throw Baylor sneaking up into that 4-5 type spot. But I think these are the third and fourth best teams in the Big 12. You get Oklahoma State at home, in the season on the road at TCU, but I think you lose them both. Unfortunately, that's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wins for West Virginia this year. So I have you at 5-7 in Neil Brown's first year at West Virginia. So a lot of couch burning in Morgantown this year. I know they made it illegal. They outlawed it. Isn't it sad they actually had to pass a law telling people that you're not allowed to burn your own furniture over a football game? It is what it is. I definitely I can't throw stones here. My TV budget, anyway, doesn't matter. I've been known to break a few, so I definitely understand your pain. But you better start going to the flea market now or yard sales or something and start stocking up on old couches for this season, because you're going to need quite a few, I'm afraid. I don't think it's going to be a good year for West Virginia. I do like I'm buying West Virginia for the long run. If you look at it as a stock market type of thing, I'm buying and holding West Virginia right now because I think you can buy them cheap right now. And then I might sell them 3-4 years down the road after Neil Brown can get his philosophy and culture and his players fully established in that system there. Then we'll see what he can do. But right now, I just don't think you have the horses, really, no matter who the coach was. It's nothing against Neil Brown. I do think he'll be successful there. But anyway, that's it. The preview for the 2019 West Virginia Mountaineers football regular season. 5-7. Disappointing, I know, but you can only go up from there. Anyway, I appreciate you guys watching, and have a great morning.